Hello everyone, here's Muhammad Imran. You're learning linguistics and literature with Imran. In my previous lecture, I talked about kinds of morpheme. And in kinds of morpheme, I discussed what is a free morpheme and what is a bound morpheme. And in bound morpheme, we talked about prefixes and suffixes. So prefixes and suffixes as a whole, we call them affixes. So the focus of today's lecture is affixation. So we will learn what is affixation and we will learn the meaning of different prefixes and suffixes. Let's begin our today's lecture. Word formation rules. So when we listen to the native speaker of English, we focus and identify how they form words. So the way they speak and the way they form words becomes rules for us. So we have rules, and out of those rules we form words. We cannot violate those rules. So we will learn those rules here. Let's look more carefully at words derived from affixation. So the words derived from affixation, from prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes and suffixes usually have special requirements, right? So you cannot put any prefix and any suffix with any word. So there are requirements for the sort of bases they can attach to. Like you cannot attach any prefix to any base. For example, you cannot attach like un with any base. So there are some rules. What are the rules? We will learn. So some of these requirements concern the phonology sound of their bases and other concern the semantics meaning of their bases, right? So some are concerned with meaning will be changed, and some are concerned with phonology, meaning will not be changed, there will be only phonological variation. So we will return to these shortly, but the most basic requirements are often the syntactic part of speech or category or their basis. For example, the suffix "ness" attaches to nouns as the example in 3a show, but not to verbs or adjective. So it means that we can add or we can attach the suffix "ness," right, to make like nouns, but we cannot make like adjectives or we cannot make like verbs. So so like the suffix "ness" can only be attached to adjectives to form nouns, but we cannot attach the suffix "ness," right, to other words like to make adjectives or to make verbs. How? Let me give example on the next slide. Now here we have examples. For example, the suffix "ness" on adjective. We have adjective red, and when we add suffix "ness," it becomes a noun, right? Abstract noun, redness. Similarly, we have adjective happy, and when we add the suffix "ness," it becomes happiness, right? Noun. And similarly, we have whole, which is an adjective, and when we add "ness," it becomes wholeness, a noun. And commonness, a noun, and niceness, a noun. But you can't add the suffix "ness" on a noun to make adjective like chairness and ideaness or giraffeness. We can't say chairness, we can't say ideaness, or we can't say giraffeness. So this is a rule. You cannot add "ness" on noun, but you can add "ness" on adjective to make nouns, right? Similarly, the rules tell us that you cannot add or you cannot attach the suffix "ness" on verbs. Like we have a verb that is run. You can't say runness. You can't say wiggleness, right? So that's not possible. So these are the rules. Where do these rules come from? These rules come from the native speaker of English. We listen them, we pay attention, and then we form rules, right? Because we are not here in Pakistan native speaker of English. So according to the rules, we can add ness on adjective to make nouns, but we cannot add ness on nouns or ness on verbs, right? So this is a rule, right? We have to follow. Examples continue. The prefix un attaches to adjective where it means not, and to verb where it means reverse action, but not to nouns. Remember, we are learning affixation, the meaning of prefixes and suffixes. So you can add the prefix un, or you can attach the prefix un to adjective where it means not, and that un means not. And when you add un, or when you attach un to verb where it means reverse action but not to noun. You can't add what? Un to nouns. You can add un to adjectives, you can add un to verbs, but you can't add un to nouns according to the rules. For example, un on adjective we have unhappy, which means not happy. And un on adjective we have uncommon. So common is adjective and uncommon is adjective also, right? Similarly, we have kind and we have unkind. We have serious and we have unserious. Unserious mean not serious, not kind, not common, not happy. Remember, okay, that here we don't have the meanings are not changed here. Only there's phonological variation, right? Because or the category also does not change. Happy is also adjective and unhappy is also adjective. Common is also adjective, uncommon is also adjective. Kind is also adjective and unkind is also adjective. Serious is also adjective and unserious is also adjective. So we can also add un with on a verbs like untie, untwist, undress and unsnap. The reverse action here, un doesn't mean not, but the reverse action of something. For example, something that is tie and you untie it, the reverse action. Something that is twist and you untwist it. Something that is dress and you, someone or something that is dress and you undress it. Snap and unsnap. But you can't add un on nouns. For example, we have a noun chair. You can't say unchair. You can't say an idea, or you can't say an giraffe or an giraffe, right? So these are nouns. So according to the rules, we can attach the prefix un to adjectives and verbs, but we can't add un to noun. And with adjective un mean not, and with verbs un mean the reverse action of something. I hope you got it. Examples continue. We might begin to build some of the rules that native speakers of English use for making words with ness or un by stating their categorical requirements. For example, rule for ness, first version. Attach ness to an adjective. And rule for un, first version. Attach un to an adjective or to a verb. That is first version. We can attach un to adjective or verbs, and we can attach ness to adjective. So these are first versions, right? Where we can add un and ness. So un is a prefix and ness is a suffix. Examples continue. Of course, if you want to be as precise as possible about what native speakers know about forming words with these affixes, we should also indicate what category of word results from using these affixes and what the resulting words mean. So a more complete version of our ness and un rules might look like in 6. So here we have our ness and un rules. So one is un, which is a prefix. One is ness, which is a suffix. We are talking about rules. So number 6, Rules for ness. We're talking about second version now. Ness attaches to adjective x and produces noun, meaning the quality of an x. So when ness is attached to an adjective, right, x and produces noun. So that adjective produces noun. For example, good and goodness. So when we add ness with the good, good is adjective and goodness is a noun. So quality of an x, right? Rule for un, second version for unnoun. Un attaches to adjective meaning x and produces adjective meaning not. So the same adjective remains adjective. For example, okay, like we have happy and unhappy. So happy is also adjective and unhappy is also adjective. But when we add un, so it means not happy. Similarly, attaches to verbs meaning acts and produces verbs meaning reverse action. Again, we will have the same verb. Like tie is also a verb and untie is also a verb. Lock is also a verb and unlock is also a verb. But only with un we have a reverse action, right? If we are really trying to model what native speakers of English know about these affixes, we might try to be even more precise. For example, un does not attach to all adjectives or verbs, as you can discover by looking at the next challenge box. So it means that we cannot attach un to all adjectives and we cannot attach un to all verbs. Why? We will explain. So here we have a challenge for you people. Look at the following words and try to work out more detail of the rule for un in English. The A list contains some adjectives to which negative un can be attached and others which seem impossible. So we cannot attach un to all adjectives, right? So the B list contains some verbs to which reversative un can attach and other which seem impossible. So we cannot attach un to all verbs. So see if you can discern some patterns. Like we have unhappy, we can add un with happy. But we can't add un with sad. We can add un with lovely. But we can't add un with ugly, right? We can't say unugly. Similarly, we can say unintelligent, but we can't say unstupid, right? So what could be the reason that we cannot add un with sad, right? So what is your guess, your intellectual guess or hypothesis, right? If you answer that because happy is a neutral or a positive adjective, that's why we can add un. And sad and ugly and stupid, they have negative connotation. So if an adjective has already a negative connotation, then we can't add un, because already something which is negative, how can you make it negative? Or if something is already positive, you can make it negative. For example, happy is positive, you can make it negative, right? Lovely is positive, you can make it negative. And intelligent is positive, you can make it negative, right? But stupid has already a negative connotation, you can't add un here. Ugly has already a negative connotation, you can't add un here. Or sad has already a negative connotation, so you can't add un here. So this is rule. Similarly, that untie, we can add un, unwind, unhing, unknot, but we can't say undance, we can't say unyawn, or we can't say unexplode, we can't say unpush. So sometimes an action can't be reversed. So when an action can't be reversed, then you cannot add un, right? And those actions can be reversed which are temporary. Permanent action can't be reversed, right? So here we have explanation of the previous slide. What the A examples in challenge box seem to show is that the negative prefix un in English prefers to attach to bases that do not themselves have negative connotation. So we can add un with adjectives, which do not have negative connotation. This is not true all of the time. Like, these are exceptions now. For example, adjectives like unselfish. So selfish has already a negative connotation, but we can add un. This is exception. Or hostile, which is a negative connotation. We can add also un. Or attested in English. But it is at least a significant tendency, right? Mostly we cannot attach to un to those adjectives which have a negative connotation. As far as B example, they suggest that un that attach to verbs prefer verbal basis and implies some sort of result. And moreover, that the result is not permanent. As I told you, verb like dance, you can't say undance, right? This action can't be reversed. And similarly, push can't be reversed. And yawn can't be reversed. Donate action that have no result, right? Because they don't have any results. That's why they can't be reversed. So action is not there, then a result is not there, then they can't be, okay? So although explode implies a result, that is something is blown up. It is result that is permanent. So when the result is permanent, again we can't add un there. So in contrast, a verb like tie implies a result, something that is like a bow or not, which is temporary, so you can take it apart, right? So this is okay, the reason for this. So if verbs, they do not have any results, right, so we cannot add un. And the second rule, we learn that these results are temporary, not permanent, right? So like where we learn the result of explode, that is permanent, and the results of tie, that is temporary, right? So this is rule. We've just constructed what morphologists call a word formation rule. So rule which makes explicit all the categorical, semantics and phonological information that native speakers know about the kind of base that an affix attaches to and about kind of word it creates. So the rules the native speaker already know, but we don't know, right? We have to learn from native speaker of language. We might now state that the full word formation rule for negative un, as in 7. Rule for negative un, final version. Un attaches to adjective, preferably those with neutral or positive connotation. So we can add un with those adjectives which are neutral or which have positive connotation, and creates a negative adjective, right? Like you can see here that when we say happy, that is positive. Unhappy, that is negative adjective. It has no phonological restriction, right? By phonological restriction, we mean that there is phonological variation, right? Because on the one hand, we can see happy and unhappy. So both are adjectives, right? You see that meaning change. One is positive and one is negative. While if you see that there is no like category change, happy is also adjective and unhappy is also adjective. But there is also phonological variation, right? We don't have any restrictions like happy and unhappy. So happy has one phonological version and unhappy has another one. So that's why they say that it has no phonological restriction. Phonologically, there is variation, right? Now, let's look at two more affixes. In English, we can form new verbs by using the suffixes s or ify. So both of these suffixes attach to either nouns or adjectives, resulting in verbs. So when we add ize is or ify, right? So both of these suffixes attach to either nouns or adjective. We can add is or ify to nouns or adjective and we will get verbs there. For example, is on adjective, civilize. So civil is an adjective and civilize is a verb. Ideal is adjective and idealize is a verb. Final is adjective, finalize is a verb. Romantic is adjective, romanticize is a verb. Tranquil is adjective, tranquilize is a verb. So IZE also a noun. For example, union is a noun and unionize is a verb. Crystal is a noun and crystallize is a verb. Hospital is a noun and hospitalize is a verb. Similarly, we have another one that is caramelize. Caramel is a noun and caramelize is a verb. Animal is a noun and animalize is a verb. IFY on adjective, for example, pure, which is an adjective. When we add IFY, it becomes what? A verb. So, here we have pure is an adjective, purify is a verb. Glory is adjective, glorify is a verb. And ugly is adjective, uglify is a verb. And moist is adjective and mostify is a verb. Diverse is adjective, diversify is a verb. IFY are nouns, for example, mummy, which is a noun, mummify is a verb. And here we have speech, which is a noun. Speechify is a verb. Classify, class, that is a noun. Classify is a verb. And brute, that is a noun. Brutify is a verb. And similarly, scare, which is a noun. Scarify is a verb. And bourgeois, which is a noun. And bourgeoisify, then that is a verb. So it means that we can add IZE or IFY both to nouns and adjective, resulting verbs to form verb. So we have some rules. Let's discuss those rules now. We might state that the word formation rule for IZE or IFY is a 9. Rule for IZE first version. IZE attaches to adjective or noun that mean acts and produces verb, right? So when we add IZE to adjective, right? So or noun, so that mean acts, and that produces what? Verbs. That mean make, put, or into acts. Rule for IFY first version. IFY attaches to adjectives or noun that mean acts and produces verbs that mean make or put it into acts. So these are the rules. But again, we can be a bit more precise about these rules. Although IZE and IFY have almost identical requirements for the category of base they attach to and produce words. Now we are learning rules. Sometimes these rules are same. With roughly the same meaning, they have somewhat different requirements on phonological forms of the stem they attach to, right? So as an example, in it show IZE prefer words with 2 or more syllable, where the final syllable doesn't bear primary stress. For example, tranquil and hospital. So the stress goes on primary syllable, tranquil, hospital. The suffix IFY, on the other hand, prefers monosyllabic bases. For example, pure, brood, and scare. These are monosyllabic. Although it also attaches to the base that ends in, for example, mummy and ugly, or bases whose final syllable are stressed, for example, diverse. So we have 2 syllables, the second syllable is stressed. Or here we have a bourgeois. So second syllable is stressed. Since we want to be as precise as possible about our word formation rule for these suffixes, we will state their phonological restrictions along with their categorical need, right? Number 10. Rule for IZE final version. IZE attaches to adjective or nouns of 2 or more syllables, where the final syllable does not bear primary stress. For a base X, it produces verbs that mean make, put it into acts. So I leave it to you to come up with the final version of the word formation rule for IFY. So please give me rule for the final versions of the word formation rule for IFY in comment box, and we will discuss there that how much you learn and how much you are accurate. So you have to give it rule for IFY the same way as I have given for IZE. So thank you so much. It was all about affixation. So we learned in detail about affixation and the meaning of affixation, and particularly word formation rules. So what are the rules where we can attach some prefixes and suffixes, and where we can't attach? So thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the channel, and please provide your feedback. Thank you so much.